Video games are still coming out.
They are.
You guys want to talk about Ghost of Tsushima? We can talk about that.
I would love to talk about Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah.
I've been on a whirlwind ride.
Yeah?
I've had ups and I've had downs.
Yes.
Playing the Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, that's out
Verticality in this game. Okay, cool.
It's out on Friday.
Yeah, I set it off, to be completely honest, not liking it very much.
Yeah, I also had a similar reaction for the first handful of hours.
And that's, there's a handful of reasons. The systems are just too heavy. I think, I ended up liking it an awful lot. And then now I'm coming around to it and going, maybe I've seen all that I need to see.
So I think you're quite a few hours deeper in than me, but I think I am following the exact same trajectory that you have.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, I thought it was pretty bland for the first 3-4 hours, and then I hit a point where I started liking it more the more I was playing it.
Right.
But I also suspect that I am approaching like my peak with the game.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, I'm probably also going to plateau like you and be like, I've seen a lot of it. Like, and it is an open world game. It is like,
Sucker Punch is not making a different kind of game.
It is.
No,
it is
they're wearing that on their sleeve for sure.
And not even like a necessarily like a modern take on an open world game. Like it feels very checklisty in the way that like, not like current Assassin's Creed, like old Assassin's Creed or that, it's or Far Cry, just like any number of Ubisoft. Just plug in any Ubisoft game into this sentence, I guess. But it just feels like here's this map full of question marks. Yep. You're not sure what is there at some of them, or if the rewards are going to be anything useful once you get there.
Yeah,
and a bunch of. It seems like that there are just maybe not enough different types of activities, so they're kind of strewn through the world. I don't know. You're
Jeff,
both,
there's too many.
Deeper in it.
No, Jeff, there's too many. And
there's too many, but like not enough types.
Yeah, there's a
lot of different types.
They start introducing more types of side activities as you get deeper in, but also there are a lot of repeated ones of the ones that are there.
So not that they're like repeating dialogue or anything, but like the sentence is very formulaic, and it's not necessarily bad that we can see the inner workings of the game. Is that they're not really doing anything above and beyond to try and obfuscate the what they're trying to do, the gamification of everything. I mentioned it's very system heavy, and I think to its detriment, but it's also formulaic to a fault. As Brad mentioned, we kind of hit a peak, and then once we started seeing the same stuff over and over and over again, it's like, I don't know if I need to see more of that. The story is not completely, original or anything like that. And I don't think that they're going for like an original take. I think they're paying an homage to old, samurai flicks, and they do a pretty good job of that. But like I said, I've been going up and down with this, and the biggest downside I've actually had is the combat.
Really?
There's
kind of like it. It's not terrible. It's not.
I didn't like it at first. There's a big learning curve to it.
Yeah, sure. I could see
that. There's a parry system. Parry block.
It's a pretty reactive combat system. Like you can't really get in there and mash to just beat people down. Like it's a lot of you have to dodge
the game. You absolutely can mash to beat people.
Oh yeah,
like very quickly they start throwing. Like there's the guys with dual swords, there's guys with spears, there's guys with shields. Like there's after like 3-4 hours, you pretty much have to parry or dodge or do some kind of reactive move to open people up to deal damage.
The pain in the ass about it is that it's stance based. Like those enemy types that you mentioned. You have to go into a specific stance in order to go on the offense with them, and that's one of my biggest pet peeves in like action games. Is like you have to use the red weapon to hit the red enemy, the blue one to hit the blue one. I hate that, and there's an awful lot of that. So I think 4 different stances.
Yeah, I'm like one pip away from getting the second stance right now. I didn't realize they were going to require stances though. Like some of the later moves in the tree that I looked at said like, oh, you can do this move in any stance. So I assumed it was going to be a lot more.
Yeah, you can kind of mash your way through it, but to be effective, I think you definitely have to, go through that flow of just like switching to this stance, doing those attacks, and then switching to another one. That's when I actually started to enjoy the combat a little bit more, because there was a little bit more depth to it. It was a little more offensive based as opposed to just like kind of sitting there and waiting. in the very beginnings, it's very defensive, and you die in like a couple of hits, right? So you're just sitting there waiting for an enemy to attack. You've got to dodge it or parry it. There's also unblockable attacks that you've got to worry about. So when you're sitting there in a defensive stance, that gives you the enemies the opportunity to surround you, and that's when you're really screwed. And that's where I was really not having fun with that game, is in the beginning. But later on, you unlocked more ninja weapons and stuff, kunai, and two different types of bows.
They give you pretty quickly, start giving you like get out of jail free kind of abilities.
Yeah, but I think it's actually too much stuff. Like it's like you're meant to fire these off on the fly, but when you've got to hold down L2 and then select what kind of weapon on the D-pad and then select the ammo with the right buttons, that's 3-button combination that I got to do in the middle of combat. Granted, I can memorize this stuff after a while, but when you're first trying to learn it, it does not flow very well, and that really stuck out to me. But it's getting better. It's getting better as time goes on.
Yeah, the combat can kind of get on top of you. I like the health system, even though it's a little bit punishing, because you basically have to you have to earn the ability to heal back from combat. Like
and that's kind of cool.
You build up a, what do they call it, resolve, whatever,
yep.
and you cash those in to heal. Also, I like that there's no in-game justification for healing. You don't like drink a potion flask or whatever.
No, you just like hunker down.
You just sort of like will yourself to heal in a way.
That's how I do it.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
But you do have to. It's not quite the Bloodborne thing of like waiting in and hitting guys to get health back, but it's kind of that.
Right.
It's like a
you get resolve from.
Right.
And there's like charms and stuff too, like equipable items that'll give you more resolve for hitting enemies, or if you get hit, you get more resolve. Yeah,
there's a lot of customization around that stuff. But typically you have to parry, or you get like certain types of kills, or like pull off combat moves to get that resolve back. So you kind of have to like earn health back, which is kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys being forced to go through these encounters like super loud? Could you tackle them stealthily?
You get stealth pretty quick in that game. There's this weird tension that I feel like falls pretty flat in the story, where the character, the protagonist, is like obsessed with his samurai code of like always look enemies in the eyes and engage them with honor, and like
no funny business.
Only cowards strike from the shadows, but then they give you stealth kill options like right off the bat, and they are incredibly effective.
It's funny because like you go into the early game, you come out of like the first like boss fight where you lose deliberately, and it kind of sets you on the real adventure, and then you kind of look at the map at what the next level of options are, and what some of the other stuff you can do is, and it's just like there's this little animated GIF style loop of you walking up behind somebody and cutting their fucking throat, and I look at that and I'm like, oh,
that's where we're going with this.
I guess when they say Ghost of Tsushima, they mean he's not gonna like adhere strictly to the samurai code for much longer here.
Yeah, but he keeps apologizing for it, like repeatedly, and I'm like 8 hours in or something. Like when I did the first aerial stealth kill, it cut to a flashback of him.
Yep.
Being beat over the head by his uncle with that lesson of like, you must always fight with honor. Only cowards strike from the shadow.
I hate apologetic samurais.
He apologizes for stealth killing on a regular basis. It's just kind of goofy.
Yeah, he actually ends up with more like ninja stuff, I think, than he does samurai stuff.
Yeah, most of the stealth stuff in the tree is straight up smoke bombs and throwing knives.
I feel like if the lesson here is that ninjas have always been cooler than fucking samurai, then I'm okay with that, right? I mean, that's like an inherent truth.
I mean, what are other samurai tools?
Cats. Fuck pizza.
Yep.
Claws. That's basically a good
tool.
To answer Jan's question, yeah, you can go in hot, if you want to. Or you can, take out, like an enemy base stealthily, but there are certain missions that will force you to take on stealth, which are, I don't know how I feel about the stealth in the game. They have their own version of like ninja vision, where you just hold on something, you can see enemies through walls or whatever. But it's only for a limited distance. So they do a pretty good job of handling that, I guess,
Like the one thing I will say unreservedly about this game in its favor is that it looks fucking incredible. Like,
design wise, it's
shit. I mean, you get deeper into it, but like,
there's like elements of it that I think look like absolutely incredible, but there's like a lot of I was really surprised by how framey it is.
I put it on the
cutscenes.
I put it on the frame rate mode on the Pro, and it's been fine.
I'll switch over. I'm honestly, and I know we're not going to get away from it because I feel like now everyone's just comfortable with it. I think the switch option between resolution and frame rate, I think, is suck ass. I've like consoles are supposed to be closed systems where everything just runs great and looks good, and now here's two options, neither of which get you what you want to get. And so it's like, what do you want to sacrifice, this or this?
Yeah,
and
I don't know.
Like the more the games kind of lean on it, and the more times I boot up games that just run like garbage, it sucks, man.
I bet that will go away as the next consoles roll out, because these machines they rolled out are just kind of barely able to do some kind of facsimile. Like
hopefully it is just like a part of it being like these stopgap consoles that came out as soon as they were like, well, these will kind of do 4K.
That's what I mean. Like these things are just barely capable of pulling that stuff off.
Like that stuff really bums me out. So like I like those early cutscenes just run like shit.
Weird.
I didn't lock 30
I was in performance mode as well, like Brad, and I didn't notice any framiness.
I'll switch over and try it, but like in resolution mode, it just I was very surprised by, like, on a Pro that's something that they were like, yeah, let's put this out here and have that be the default setting, because like some of those big cutscenes as you're kind of heading to the castle at the very opening of the game. Just run fucking bad, man. So it just undercuts the look of the game. You know, you're just like, oh, this looks incredible, but maybe they should have scaled back so it could run acceptably well. Like it's, you know, I don't know. Like I started at that point looking at everything, you know, like, hey, a lot of these ground textures look real bad. A lot of this looks, you know, there's just a lot of stuff around it that kind of started falling apart for me once I started like really looking. But like artistically, I agree. Like that first, like when you get to the late title card, and you're riding the horse through that field,
of like waving,
the winds,
flowers, and
all this stuff. Like it's just a great artistic, cool thing. There's a lot of, like, the cutscenes do have like there's a lot of really great like cinematic camera angles. Like, you know, obviously like there's a rich history of this type of movie that they're very much like desperate to tap into.
It's trading in those samurai film tropes constantly.
And I think when they nail that, like, it feels like they're cribbing. It doesn't feel
totally. It is like the whole thing is like super derivative and like the, you know, wears all his influences on its sleeve, but it's just so nonstop. Like, I mean, you get deeper into the game and like get to more areas of the game and you'll kind of see what we're talking about. Like their time of day stuff, like their day night cycle, the weather effects,
the lightning, and
it's just like oozing with atmosphere. Like it's got so much just ambiance to everything. I don't know if you guys have, Jason, you've probably seen this. They full on do a Wind Waker Ocarina of Time thing where you can unlock flute songs that you can play to just change the weather to whatever you want at any time.
I didn't know that's what they did. No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so you can make it like sunny, thunderstorm, rain, fog, like whatever you want. Like
samurais can do that.
Cool. When you find all those songs.
Only when they're half ninja.
Yeah.
Damn.
But like the world design, like aesthetically, the world is so heavily stylized. It's just like that opening field you're talking about with the late title card. Like that's everywhere. Like everywhere you go, it's like fucking pouring cherry blossoms, or like here's this forest of like golden leaves everywhere, or like, you know, it's just constantly like stuff waving in the wind. Like it looks fantastic. Like I did
even in those. Oh, go ahead.
I did one of those. I forget what they're called, like the myth. No, there's like
Mythic
6 or 8.
Tales,
the Mythic Tales. There's like 6 or 8 of them in the game that all lead to like a really good ability or a piece of armor or something like that. And you might have done this one too. Like you fight a duel at the end, and like the actual storytelling is like pretty boilerplate, which is kind of a problem with the whole game from what I've seen. But you fight the duel at the end, and just out of nowhere, like thunderstorm just comes in, like lightning starts striking all around the duel and setting everything on fire. So like you're all in the rain and it's like orange glow from all the fire everywhere. Like it looks super cool.
Yeah, and it's not just like, you know, the beauty and like in nature. Like it's also in the visceralness of like the blood and like spattered everywhere. It's rough. Like it's gross sometimes. It's cool looking, but
I thought a lot of the facial capture stuff was really great.
Yeah.
Like there's, you know, maybe they spend it all, maybe they spent it all on nostril flare, but there's just a lot of like very subtle facial motion across a lot of those cutscenes that I thought was cool to see.
Yeah, and they've been doing that across like the last few Infamous games as well. So
anybody doing
go back and look at it. I don't remember Infamous having that, but it's been a long time.
Second Son, I think for sure had really good facial. Yeah,
well, good facial. Yeah, I guess I'm more meaning like subtle bits of emotion out of like some of that stuff.
Anybody doing the Japanese VO?
I've gone back and forth. I'm not sure which voice I like better. I think I like his English voiceover better because he sounds a little more gentle and human, I guess, relatable maybe. Where he's a little more like typical gruff samurai.
Yeah.
When he's in the Japanese voice, I
think it's kind of weird that they. Do you think that they should have done like Japanese lip flap for it?
I can't say because I'm too busy reading the subtitles to stare at the faces, so I hadn't actually noticed that. But I guess everybody's saying that the lip sync is not matched up.
Like it's all English, so it doesn't match when you switch.
Yeah,
I almost. It would have been maybe more authentic if they had gone the other way with it.
Sure. Yeah, but that would probably annoy a bunch of mainstream players who don't care about stuff like that. Like,
I guess
it seems like a very focus tested decision. Yeah, I where I'm at right now, I'm really enjoying it, but I think that's like it's like 3/4 how good it looks and just how much you can like get into these really nice picturesque scenes. It's like 20% just wanting to unlock shit like crazy because like they gamify the objectives in like a really explicit way. Like Jeff, maybe you haven't seen this yet, but like pretty quickly once you get in there and start unlocking side mission icons, when you highlight them, they tell you exactly what you're gonna get.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's like you're gonna get like you're gonna work towards your next stance. Yeah, you're gonna get a bow. Like
here's the type of charm you're gonna get out of this. Here's the resources you're gonna get.
Like, I think that's kind of cool, and I almost wish. Well, I don't know. I guess it could kind of go either way, but like they've got the question marks on the map that you have to ride closer to figure out what they actually are.
Yeah,
and what you're gonna get for going there, and I kind of. Like they give it to you for the main quests, right? They tell you exactly like those are going to show up on the map, and they say these are the 3 things you're going to get. And I almost wish that there was something, even if it had to be a little bit more vague, but it was just like, hey, if you ride over here, you might get something like this, like just to give you some sort of inkling of like, is this worth riding over to right now, or is this a side mission? I should wait until I'm just down there and by chance and do it, because like basically like as soon as I got to the point where it says like, all right, Act 1. Like it gives you the 2 very like oh, these are the big deal things I need to do, but I was like, well, fuck that, I'm gonna go do all these question marks. Like I just fell right into just like I'm gonna go do all these side quests mode, and just did all this stuff that was not of huge import but still like fun.
I've had to somewhat resist that urge because as with most games like this, like it's to your benefit to do a few of those story missions first. Because like
especially because you're getting like
those 2 paths that you're talking about right now, like one of them is how you get stealth kills and the other one is how you get the bow and arrow.
Right. Yeah. So, it says up front like here's what you'll get when you go. So like yes, but I was just like, well, I just want to see the world and get out here and just look at this thing, and so I just took off riding. So it's a real, like they set this tone at that moment in the game that I don't think the rest of the game necessarily makes good on. Though you talking about a flute that changes the weather. Like it's really between the wind acting as like the objective indicator of like when you highlight something on the map and then hit the swipe up on the thing and it'll say like the wind is blowing the way that you want to be going, and just like you're on this horse, you're doing all this stuff like big overworld, like it really strikes a minor Zelda tone here.
Yeah,
with that stuff. I mean, it's not that game, right? I mean, it's very much like open world. Side mission, main mission, like all that sort of stuff, but like there's just enough of that around the edges that like right out of the gate you're like this feels like special. It does
hit that feeling of like I've got an entire world at my fingertips, and like it's a world of possibility, like who knows what's out there.
Yeah.
And then you start exploring it and you realize
there
are 49 fox dens that are all kind of the same exact activity over and over and stuff like that. But
luckily, it's fast travel pretty much.
Yeah, the fast travel
anywhere
is
you go.
Super generous in terms of how many points there are, and also the loading times are insanely fast.
Yeah, they are pretty quick.
I fast traveled halfway across that first zone out of 3 and it's like not even 10 seconds, like 5 to 10 seconds to fast travel to any point around there. I don't know how they pull that off. It's pretty nice, but yeah, I really want to go play it right now. Like that's where I'm at right now. Like I am really enjoying it at this particular moment in time.
But I'm at with it too. Like after it opens up and you like the early parts of the game, I was like, okay, these systems seem interesting, but the combat, like the combat, like by default before you start like going up skill trees and doing all this other stuff, it's like very generic. And I was
even like switching between the different stances, you know, your attack patterns are the same. You know, that really doesn't change up anything at all.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, it gets a little more demanding in that respect when they start throwing heavier enemies at you in bigger numbers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It does a thing that I just haven't played enough open world games in a while, but I feel like I haven't seen this in a bit of like just ambient random encounters all over the place. Like constantly when you're just riding down the road, like you'll just run into a band of Mongols like patrolling, and like you can run by them, of course, if you want. They're not obligatory or anything, but like
I love doing the standoff in those situations.
Right. And each one of them gives you a tiny little bit of XP on your kind of legend bar or whatever. So it's like there's a constant dopamine drip of like, I'm gonna hop off my horse and kill these 3 guys and watch this meter go up just a tiny little bit.
Now you're talking fill these meters as a mechanic I can very much get behind.
It is that.
So it's something I was hoping like So do you feel like you're both deeper in than I am? Do you feel that this game is a game that you could play with honor? Is there a way to play it that is very much like, I'm not going to stick to any of this like ninja shit? Like that's
like Jason said, I just did.
They force you to do stuff.
I just did
a lot of missions.
I did a mission last night where raising an alarm failed the mission. So
yeah.
Granted, they weren't forcing me to stealth kill a bunch of guys. They were I just had to stay hidden, so you don't have to like.
I think I was hoping for like as it got to more skill tree stuff, that it would be like, okay, you've got your like this is the way of the warrior. This is the Bushido's, like this is the samurai way.
Yeah,
and
there's definitely none of that. Like it's like I said, it's
hang out with Yuna a little bit longer, and she'll be like, "Yo, what if you just stuck this fool?" It'll be like, "Yeah, what if I just stuck this fool?"
It seems very woven into the story. Like I said, there are multiple flashbacks where you are essentially like apologizing to your uncle in your mind for betraying his lessons.
And if you're truly going to be a ghost, a samurai ghost, another kind of well-worn concept, then yeah, I guess that is very much the game they're making. But like that standoff mechanic of just like walk into a camp and hit up on the D-pad and just go like, come fucking fight me.
Yeah, right. And then if you time it right, you just get a free kill on the first guy that steps to you. And it fills your resolve meter, and then you just start fighting the rest of the guys.
You can max out that tree, kill up to 3 guys at once. Right. There's also armor that'll give you 1 more.
Wow!
You do that right, 4 motherfuckers.
That would actually just about that would just about clear some of the early camps that I've run into if you had that.
Yeah. It's pretty bad.
But like that's another example of just like what an open world gamey game this is like there's camps everywhere. And you just go in there and clear them, and then that means you take them for your territory. It's just it's a very repeated video gamey task that you just
that was the thing. Like when I first got into the open world and started riding it off in direction of one of the question marks, is just like I passed like multiple bandit camps on the way, and I stopped at the first one. I was like, all right, fuck these guys. I'm gonna get in here and call them out, and we're gonna go. And then from there it was
kind of Far Cry camps, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was very much like, oh, okay, now I know exactly what this game is.
But if you kill the leader of enough of those camps, then you unlock a pip on your next stance.
That does sound nice.
Don't you want all the numbers and meters to go up?
Like honestly, yes. Like there's I don't hate this type of open world game by default. I want like those games to be like better and different and find different ways to use those systems, and it doesn't seem like this is like fully successful in that way, but this game seems totally all right.
Yeah, it is. There's nothing like outright bad that I can think of about it. Like at worst, like its worst sin is that parts of it are just pretty bland. Like the writing and the quest design, like quest objective design, are both like as straightforward as they could possibly be. Like I won't get into it, but there's like a couple of early side missions that stand out to me of like those have interesting premises, like that's just like I go investigate this haunted forest where people are said to enter and never leave, and then you go do that side mission,
yeah.
and it plays out in the most straightforward way you could possibly imagine. Like there's several other side missions that have been the same way of like, they even came up with like an interesting premise to push this 15-minute long gameplay sequence. And then both the story reveal at the end of it and the things I did to complete it are like as unimaginative as they could be. Like it's
just imagine it being multiple episodes of Scooby-Doo.
Sure.
You're like, this is a mystery. Oh, wait, it's a guy in a map. Okay, all right.
Yeah. Or like those fox dens, like you find a fox den and the fox is supposed to guide you to a shrine where if you pray at enough of these shrines, you get, I've already forgotten what kind of upgrade.
Charms or charm slots.
Right. But like in most of the cases of the following the foxes I've seen, there's not even any like platforming or climbing to do. You literally just run to where it runs to with no obstacles.
Later on, you get some platforming stuff.
Okay. Maybe they get a little more interesting, but like I've just been kind of shocked at how shallow some of those side activities have been.
Yeah.
But again, they look great and they make meters go up. Like it's kind of
they do that constantly.
It's kind of like a welcome, like I don't want to say mindless. Like that's not that's more critical than I mean for it to sound, but there's something welcome about this right now of just like, I'm just going to roam this world and do whatever I find, and it's going to look great, and it's going to give me more trinkets and meters, and that's fine, right? So.
It's good.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that?
Yeah.